Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the German Embassy and the Institute for International Affairs at the university here, I bid you welcome. We have the honor of welcoming tonight Mr. Michael Roth, who is Minister for European Affairs in the German government. He's going to give us a brief overview of Germany's policy in Europe, followed by a short Q&A. But first, I'd like to introduce the Ambassador of Germany to Iceland, Mr. Thomas Meister, who is going to give us a short introduction.
Tak fyrir, lieber Ingo. Hjertelig velkommen. Min hedder af Kina, Ráðherran Michael Roth. But before I introduce our Minister of State, a very special thank you to the University of Iceland, to Háskóla Íslands, especially to Pia and to Thomas, who have been organizing the seminar, reflecting the excellent cooperation we've had over time between the German Embassy and the university. Just a few words on introduction on our guest of honor, Michael Roth. Michael Roth is the Minister of State for Europe at the German Federal Foreign Office. Since January 2014, he's also been the Federal Government Commissioner for Franco-German Cooperation. He studied political science, public law, sociology, German language, literature at Johann Wolfgang Goethe Institute at Frankfurt. He became a member of the German Bundestag for the first time in 1998, and between 2010 and 2013, he served as spokesperson on European policy for the SPD parliamentary group in the Bundestag. As Minister for State for Europe, he is also the deputy to the Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs, Frank-Walter Steinmeier. Besides the EU, Eastern European and Russian affairs, Roth's main responsibilities lie in foreign security policy, disarmament, arms control, as well as bilateral relationships with the United States, Canada, Middle East, Maghreb, and East Asia. As chairman of the State Secretary's Committee for European Affairs, he also participates in the federal government's cabinet meetings. He also represents the federal government on the EU's General Affairs Council in Brussels. So please welcome our guest of honor, Michael Roth. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm very delighted to be here, and thank you very much to our Ambassador Meister for the introduction. I'm always impressed by myself because I have so many posts and jobs. It's always challenging, but it's good to be here in Iceland. This is my second trip to your wonderful country, but this is my first official visit in my capacity as the German Minister for Europe. Challenging times, that's true. And I would like to share some ideas, some views with you about the relationship between my country and Iceland, the relationship between the European Union and Iceland, and I hope that there is an option to find some points of consensus. This morning I have had wonderful meetings with representatives of your foreign ministry, with my counterpart, with your state president, with the Minister for Industries. Tomorrow I have meetings with representatives of the Althing, of your parliament. But I would also like to come in touch with representatives of civil society. One of my discussion partners this morning told me it's not so important to be member of the EU to be a constructive European country. Yeah, probably that's true, but frankly speaking, I'm a little bit disappointed about the decision of your government not to continue the negotiations with the EU. I know that this is one of the most controversial issues in your society. And that's great, because this stands for a stable, strong democracy, for a vital civil society, which discuss the most important issues. it's not only the job of the political or the economic elite to discuss this issue. But for sure, my government and the whole European Union, all our institutions respect the decision of the government of Iceland. But as a Minister for Europe, with a strong pro-European commitment, it's more or less normal that I would like to promote the idea of an EU perspective for your country. And it takes time. And I know for the representatives of the pro-European movement in your country, it's difficult to describe why this is necessary or useful to become member of the European Union. Because the EU has to face many crises. Not only on the global stage in foreign and security policy, but also economic and social crisis. The youth unemployment rate in many EU member states is much too high. More than 50% of the young people in Greece or Spain, many people, young people in Italy or in France, are without a job, without a perspective. And that's a tragedy for all of us. And we have to face social and economic imbalances within the EU. And I know that for many citizens of the European Union, the EU is much more part of the problem than part of the solution. That's why we are really much interested to deliver positive results for the ordinary people at the street. And that is the main challenge, not only for the EU institutions. It's also the main challenge for my government. And we highly appreciate that the new EU Commission, with President Jean-Claude Juncker, in a close cooperation with the heads of states and government, put the right things on our political agenda. Frankly speaking, it's not fishery. I know that fishery is a very emotional issue. I spoke about this issue with your president. And that makes the difference, for instance, between Germany and Iceland. But Iceland has to offer a lot. Sustainable fishery. This is a forward-looking concept, not only for your country. That could be also a forward-looking concept for the European Union. Because overfishing is a problem for all of us. Or I met this morning the mayor of Reykjavik. Reykjavik is one of the most fascinating European capitals. Many young Germans love Reykjavik. Reykjavik stands for a wonderful combination between creativity, arts, innovation. You have a wonderful landscape. You have many Europeans who are going to visit your country as tourists. And I hope that there is a chance to strengthen these ties between the EU member states and Iceland. But I would like to come back to the major challenges of the EU, because I'm fully convinced that these challenges are not only the challenges of the European Union. These are our common challenges. Because Iceland belongs to Europe. And Iceland probably can build bridges, transatlantic bridges. And we have to strengthen the Nordic dimension of Europe. The Nordic countries stands for a wonderful combination. Strong welfare states, competitiveness, strong economy, open and liberal societies, strong democracies. And that's why we are so interested in a very close cooperation to Iceland or to Norway or to other Nordic countries. If we have a fresh look outside the EU, to the EU, most of our partners all over Europe are fascinated by the European project because the European Union is first and foremost not a single market. We are first and foremost a union of values. And that's why the enlargement process, for instance with Turkey or with the Western Balkan states, is so difficult because we started the negotiations with the most crucial issues, not the details of the single market. We started with rule of law, democracy, independence of judiciary, freedom of the media. This is pretty normal for Iceland. And you could deliver a lot of positive projects in these key issues for all of us. Facing the economic and the social crisis within the European Union, we have to do much more for jobs and growth in the European Union. That's the top priority for all of us. And that means that we have to establish a strategy which combines investment, for instance, investment in infrastructure, in education, in innovation, with socially balanced fiscal consolidation and structural reforms. That's, for instance, the major challenge for Greece. Not only austerity policy, that's gone. We cut it. We started a new political mix. And I hope that there is a chance in 2015 to deliver positive results. The next challenge is strengthening social cohesion. We have to improve the daily life of the ordinary people. And in too many countries, in too many regions in the European Union, the people are in a difficult situation, without jobs, without perspectives. And the welfare system is under pressure. But the welfare system is one of the most attractive projects of the European Union. The European Union offers both. On one hand, democracy and freedom and rule of law, and on the other hand, strong economy, strong welfare state, and prosperity for most of the people. And we have to deliver both as soon as possible. That's the second challenge. The third challenge. We have to face so many crises, and we are all small fishes. Germany, Luxembourg, Italy, and there's just one strategy for a common success: to speak with one single voice. And that's always difficult because there are so many perceptions and traditions within the European Union. For instance, the conflict with Russia, or our problems, the crisis in the Ukraine. And we established a two-way strategy. On one hand, a very tough answer to Russia, including economic sanctions, and I'm very grateful to our friends in Iceland which support this strategy. And on the other hand, we want to keep the communication channels open because Russia is our neighbor and will be our neighbor in the next 100, 200 years. And there's no crisis on the global stage. We will solve without a constructive role of Russia. The transatlantic relationship, TTIP, for instance. All these are the problem in the Middle East. There's just one chance to speak with one single voice. And that's why the German government, my government, is really much interested to strengthen the ability of the European Union to be more active and to take over more responsibility. But Europe is a team game, always. The fourth challenge. It was a tragedy that hundreds of refugees died in the Mediterranean. And this is not a tragedy for the European Union. It's a tragedy for 28 member states. We establish a migration, asylum policy without a perspective. This is not a forward-looking policy. And the first priority now is to save lives. But we have also to combat the roots of these problems. We have to strengthen the economic and the social situation, stability in the countries where the refugees live, where they come from. And that is a very long and bumpy road to improve the situation of the people in Africa, in the Middle East, to find a peaceful solution for Syria, where many refugees come. But the problem is that just 5 EU member states invite 75% of the refugees. That's unfair. We need more humanity and more solidarity within the EU. That's a very, very important issue. And my last one, and we discussed this issue with representatives of the foreign ministry. Energy, we have to implement an energy union. And I know that Iceland has to offer a lot. Renewable energy, this is more or less normal in your country. But on the EU stage, it's a very sensitive issue because we have to overcome the traditional system. We have to strengthen energy efficiency. We have to modernize the grids. We have to invest a lot of money in modern infrastructure. And we have to put much more creativity into energy diversity, to be more independent to energy supplies probably from Russia. And for all these challenges, there's just one answer: a strong European Union which speaks with one single voice. And without or with an EU perspective for your country, it would be very, very useful if we could strengthen our contact to find common solutions. You are small, but that's my last point. Within the European Union, small is always beautiful. Thank you very much.